Welcome everybody. You're watching We Heart Therapy, the special series EFT Talk. I'm your host, Anabelle Bugatti, licensed marriage and family therapist and certified EFT therapist here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have a very exciting guest today. We have Simona Herb. Now, she has her doctorate in psychology, specializing in attachment and EFT interventions. She's also a trainer and head of the EFT community in Romania, and they have a center out there and offer many trainings. And she's so wonderful to come join our show all the way from Romania. This is so exciting. So today we're going to talk about EFT with diverse cultures, and Simona's going to talk to us about her community and help us understand some important things that maybe we've never, thought about before. So thank you so much, Simona, for being on our show.
Thank you for inviting me, Annabelle. Hello to everybody.
So tell us more about Romania. What is the culture like out there, and how might it be different from, let's say, American culture or more Western cultures?
Yeah, so Romania is an East European country, and we are following, the communism that it was over in 1989. But was a long and hard period, the communism, that has even now echoes in people's mentality. So during the communism, maybe this is interesting, psychology university and studies were forbidden. So actually when I started study again, psychology was something very, very new for the people. Like psychology was not very well seen and was kind of seen with fear or something that was linked with something forbidden. So then, of course, the mentality of going to therapy developed very much since 20 years now, but it's still not so
well received.
And still is a secret, still is like you did something wrong, or maybe you are crazy if you need a psychologist help.
A lot of stigma still.
It's a lot of stigma. In my beginning of my practice, people even, specifically tell me not to be seen, they didn't say to anybody that they would go to therapist. Maybe nowadays, slowly, I see development, like people can even, have testimonials. I went to therapy, it's okay. Couple therapy is nothing, doesn't mean that it's something wrong with you. So it's developing, but it's slowly.
Yeah. So you're really breaking a lot of ground and a lot of new territory. You're blazing new trails, which is so exciting. And I'm sure that the culture is so thankful for you, because now for the first time they've been able to get help for their relationships, whereas before, like you said, it was completely taboo and forbidden.
Exactly. It's, of course, it's not paradoxal. It makes sense that when you don't talk about relationship at all, and it was so much stigma and so much trauma during the communism. Of course, these are the couples that need the most help. So yes, being a therapist already was something new, but being an EFT therapist and bringing EFT in Romania, this is really healing and helpful.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. So it sounds like, and you can help us with that, because a lot of us do have clients that come in that are originally from communist countries. And so it might be important for us to understand how that might affect the way that they are in relationships and how they approach love and attachment and emotions and their needs. And it sounds like there's a possibility of a lot of rigidity, like, very straight, black and white, I can't reach for you, I can't express myself. Can you tell us a little bit more how that shows up in couples?
Yes. So the families are still traditional. So the traditional role of a man was to be, to provide for the family, but of course, to be the head of the family. To lead everything what happens in the family. So no way that they could express emotions or, you know, like go to therapy. This was like the last thing that they could have done. And then, so even if now I work with younger couples, so I see a bit more flexibility in the man role, but it's still like the woman should, and she is allowed to express emotion, but man is not allowed of expressing emotions. And as well, in traditional families, if a man, you know, like drinks, you know, has somehow not alcoholism, but maybe alcohol abuse, or have affairs, is not so bad, you know. So thinking about EFT model and the AIRM model, you know, the forgiveness model, then, you know, the man sometimes doesn't understand why should be a forgiveness, you know, because it's not so bad. Yeah. So
So
then
it
it's a
sounds
lot
like,
of trauma.
is it kind of expected that the men might have affairs or abuse alcohol, and so they don't get why this is an attachment injury for their wives?
Yeah, not really expected, but it's not so, it's
Taboo.
not like a stigma or a taboo like would be for a woman. Yeah.
Mm.
And especially in the most traditional, more traditional families, like when they are like 50, 60, I mean, this is allowed. Yeah, this is sometimes allowed. That doesn't mean that the pain is not still there for the woman, and of course the disconnection for both of them, but the way that they treat what happens is not like it's a big thing, you know, it's not like a drama. Yeah. So
So when you
then,
have a client like that, how do you approach a male client in your work that helps you as a therapist come alongside them and it kind of opens them up to receiving the pain that their wife may share?
yeah, so of course, first, I mean, I need to have the alliance and to, I know the culture and I know the tradition, and it's like I can understand from where they come from. Yeah, that they need to, they have, you know, like as well their standards. Yeah. So first I have the alliance and I validate that I could understand, not, of course, not the alcohol abuse or the affairs, but I can understand what it's inside, because once I have the alliance, I get that they are so disconnected, but they have no clue how to connect or how to ask. I mean, even asking is really forbidden, means that they are weak. So they just do something else, you know, like they avoid disconnection and pain, doing, you know, such um, behaviors like having affairs or abusing alcohol or um, gambling or whatever, you know. So first I have the alliance, and I have in my mind that actually, you know, behind all these behaviors that could be, you know, people could criticize, you know, and see it in a negative way. I know there is a need that was not satisfied once, and there is no way, or they have no clue, no idea, no experience, that if you have something inside, you can ask, you know, for soothing or healing. This is like, you know, very strange for them. So I start with this, and then they open up a bit that they had as well once a discomfort, or they had as well when they come home and they see a very critical woman, they feel like they are not home. Yeah, and then, you know, we start. This is the
Sure. And that
yeah.
sounds very familiar to even American culture, you know, where husbands, they come home and they have a spouse that's, you know, feels like they're criticizing constantly. It doesn't feel like a safe place. So that sounds like something in common where they,
Yeah.
you know, don't want to come home to a wife that's criticizing. And I love how you said part of, you know, coming alongside them and building that alliance is recognizing in their culture it's been forbidden to ask for your needs, to ask for help, to share this with someone else, completely, you know, forbidden before. And so they didn't know how to get their needs met and then turn to something else by, you know, gambling or alcohol or affairs. That makes all kinds of sense.
Right. And then what I got as a feedback, and which I see as well, but maybe sometimes I'm so biased by my own culture that I don't see it by the other trainers, is that in East European women, they are very, they are like strident pursuers. They are very critical. Because as well as a woman in communism, you had to, it was not traditional in the, like traditional sense that she stays home and takes care of the children. She has to take care of the children, but go to work as well and provide for the family as well, kind of side by side. Communism was like everybody has to be equal, and to work for what you have. So they are as well pretty hard, outside, pretty harsh. And
Yeah.
I could hear this from the trainers that came in Romania, that, oh, Romanian women are so strident pursuer, like critical. They could say their pain in a harsh way.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said that Romanian women come across as strident pursuers. They're very tough, very, rigid too. They're used to having to fight alongside their husbands for the family. Everyone's equal. That means equal share of misery, right? We all
Exactly,
have to
yeah.
go to work and provide, but then the wives also have to care for the family, which can make it hard for their needs to get met. And maybe sometimes they feel neglected, so they have to fight, demand, criticize to get their needs met. Am I getting that right?
Yes, you are getting right. So, we already have the cycle actually, a strident pursuer, tough one, that actually she needs to obey, the traditional role, but as well she needs to be equal in providing for the family. And then a man that has no idea, that could share, could be, like warm, or could ask for help, because nobody taught us, I mean, especially in communism, or where you had to get married and that's it, nobody asked you after marriage what happens. Yeah, so we have already the cycle, right, in Romania.
So does it feel like it takes longer to de-escalate a Romanian couple because they're much more rigid?
Yes, I mean, depending, of course, now we know about their history and about how, since when they are together and what kind of obstacles they had. But for a traditional couple, yes, because, I mean, we have to take into account that they come very late to therapy. Therapy in Romania is not used very often like prevention, or when we have signs that something is not going right, we can ask for help and see maybe we can improve our relationship. I mean, when I started doing therapy, it was like a joke, before going to lawyer, you come to therapist. So that means they ask for therapy very, very late, after it happened so many things, so many hurts, so many injuries, attachment injuries. So then this is another motive for which we de-escalate slowly, and it takes longer, the therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we are in America and we have a couple come in and we find out that they are originally from a communist country, what are some things that we should know or pay attention to or look for? And how would you recommend that we better build alliance with someone from that culture?
So yeah, I mean, depends, if it is a couple where the man is the total authority, that when the woman should obey. Because if it's such a case, even the woman is critical, actually you can feel that she just speaks, but in the rest she kind of suppresses everything, like what she feels, what she needs, just to sacrifice for the good of the family. You will hear very much the sacrifice word in marriages. I don't know if for all the Eastern European countries, but for sure for Romania. And as well, I would say for sure for Orthodox people, because sacrifice is such a high value. Then we should kind of understand this, this I would, if it's such a family, I would very much try to understand, because it's a bit difficult for Western cultures to understand how a woman could believe that is, like important, or like how can she sacrifice herself, her needs, her desires for the family, But I mean, I would do this first of all, that try to see the background. I mean, where does she come from? How come? What need she feels, because of course when she says I sacrifice myself, kind of she has a need that she satisfies by this, the need that she is helpful, she is valuable for the family, like this she will be loved. Yeah, she like this is feminine.
That is so important, because I've had quite a few clients where they were women that came from communist countries, but they immigrated to America and married an American man. And then I've heard them speak often about sacrifice. Well, I'm giving this up for the family. I'm giving that up for the family. And the American men are like, well, who asked you to do that? Like, they don't understand their own wives and why that's such a high priority. And it becomes part of their cycle, because she's fighting to be recognized in that way, and they just don't see it.
Exactly. This is the perfect wording. Yeah. They would like to be recognized and valued and prize this sacrifice, like when I give up to, I don't know, to go to work to stay with the baby home, or when I give up to buy me something, or I don't know, is because actually I show you my love. And I would like so much to be valued for this, that the husband says, oh, I see how much you value me, And of course, when sacrifice is not a value for the other, it's like you shouldn't give up, anything you do. Western culture has more individual values, like you do what you want, feel good. This can be like a, I don't know, not an injury, but it is a pain. Yeah. It's like he doesn't get me, I'm not understood.
Yeah. And then how do we align with the men? If let's say we have a male that comes from a communist country, but he marries a woman that's not from a communist country, and we're seeing them, and she doesn't get his point. How would we help that?
I mean, this is even more interesting, because for the man, he expects the woman to have these values of, I stay with the children home, even if I criticize very much, I'm doing my tasks like cooking, staying with the children, and going to work if possible. Yeah. So then, of course, he will feel like less of a man when the woman doesn't do these things. Like the woman should follow the man in everything. Yeah. So I would imagine in such a couple, that very independent woman, even if, many Romanian now, they admire, or they say in a cognitive way that it's good to be independent as a woman, that she can handle it. But actually, of course, we have a common ground, and the need is, I would like her to, like not maybe sacrifice, but to give up for me, to see that I'm valuable for her, that she loves me, that, she takes this woman part. So I can understand as well such a man, of course. And I guess everybody we have in traditional culture, men that expect that the woman give up everything for them. Yeah. What is for me important when I talk with people from other cultures is to link their pain or when they are unsatisfied or unhappy with their attachment needs. Yeah, like, what do you see when she goes to work and maybe she works more than you, and then you to come home and make a sandwich, which is okay if you agree, but if you have this mindset up, I'm interested in what do you see, that I link it with the attachment need. And it's, the answer can be, I see that I'm alone, she doesn't care, she doesn't wonder how I am, so I'm alone there. Oh, okay, then, yeah. Because, just to frame it as a critical woman or a tough woman, or, like a man that wants the woman to sacrifice everything, doesn't solve the problem. We can judge such behaviors. But when I want to know, what do you see? What is the pain? All the time I want to get to know, what is the pain? When you protest so much, what is the pain there? When you see her, she comes at, I don't know, 10 o'clock at home, and,
And
you
that's how
don't
it
have
comes
your...
back to the model.
Yeah, exactly. Because we have these cultural differences, which we should honor all the time. Yeah. Because this is what they are. I mean, it's encapsulated, these values. And as well, after I understand and I really get the cultural differences, I go back to the model.
Yeah. And what I find interesting, so I find that I actually have quite a few clients that are from communist countries, but immigrated, like 30 years ago. And so they've partway assimilated into American culture, but there's even a clash within themselves between the culture they've assimilated into and their communist roots. And these
Yeah.
parts often become in conflict. And, it's like you have a wife who might be saying, well, I'm sacrificing for you, I'm taking care of you. And then the husband saying, well, you're taking care of me like my mother would take care of me, but I want more. I want you to be my wife, not my mom, but I'm not going to tell you what I need. You should know. And if you don't know by now, then you just don't know. And they get really rigid and refuse. Like, some of them literally refuse to communicate their needs. And I find that so interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this, I say glass ball, I say magic glass ball. It's an illusion, or, like a prejudice that we have. And I find it in Romania very much, both to the men and the women. Like, you should know what I'm thinking. And especially if we go back to the model and the attachment style, I find it more in the pursuers, in the anxious attachment style. That, like, you love me so much and deeply that you could read my mind. And when I tell you to do whatever and you are doing it, is not so valuable anymore because I just said it. So I find this, I don't know if it's specific in our culture, but I find it very often, both in women and men, this idea that love means that you could read the mind of the other and you shouldn't communicate what you feel, or you shouldn't communicate what you feel, or the relationship should work. If it doesn't work without words and feeling each other, that means, it's like the relationship is doomed or you are doing something wrong.
I love that. That's so beautiful the way you say that. And it's so true. It's not necessarily restricted to diverse cultures. It's definitely in America, and America is diverse too. But yeah, and as Sue and all of the attachment researchers have found, that attachment is universal. So of course, it makes sense that we're going to find these reoccurring attachment distresses and themes from culture to culture, maybe just sometimes expressed a little bit differently in the nuances, but underneath it's still some of the core stuff.
Yeah, right. I mean, And so I find it more frequently to the anxious attached persons, individuals. Yeah, and of course, as we know, they may couple with a more avoidant person, which loves to be told what to do. I mean, it just loves, like, if you would tell me what to do, I would do it because I'm happy to do it for you. I'm happy to make you happy. It's just I need to know what to do. And on the other side, to the pursuer partner is like, I feel so loved and more special when you guess what I like, which makes it, of course, such a vicious cycle, because, yeah, I don't tell you, or if I tell you, I don't value it enough. And it's sad, actually, because, of course, we are not mind readers.
Yes. Yeah, I flunked that class on mind reading.
Exactly, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's so beautiful. I love what you're saying. If we come across folks that come from, possibly like a communist country that, it's some similar themes as we'll find with, other, couples from a smattering of cultures, but it may take a little bit longer. We may need to be prepared to be more patient because of their cultural roots. Emotional expression was not, something they were taught. It was not ever told that it was okay. It was forbidden in a lot of cases. Having needs beyond tasks and, sexuality, like you said, expression, all these kinds of expressions of love were also never taught, that it's okay to say this to your partner or have a relationship that's based on romantic love. I would imagine in the earlier days, it was more economic reasons. And like you said, no one asked them what it's like after they get married,
No, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's so wonderful. I love all of this. This is so helpful. It's so important. And it's just so exciting to be able to talk to a trainer in another country. This is really
Yeah.
exciting. So Simona, do you guys offer trainings in Romania?
Yes, we offer, like all the standard trainings, like from externship, core skills, and just nowadays I have a webinar that I started. I mean, it will start on 30th of March, the first session. It's called like keeping in touch with essential elements of EFT across time. And there are like 6 sessions once per month, and where we discuss me. I talk about different items, subjects, maybe with different, like therapists from Europe. We discuss about the basic of EFT. Sometimes we go to trainings, but then in practice starts to come up all these questions like, oh, I know, like with the pursuer, as I said, the pursuer is often critical and so on and so forth, but I never had such a strident pursuer. So we have a subject which is about strident pursuer. What should we do? How to calm them down, and so on and so forth. So it's once per month, this webinar.
And where do we find it if folks want to look it up?
Yeah, so we have we have a website, is eftromania.ro, and there it
Dot what?
EFT.ro,
Oh,
from Romania.
ah,
So EFTRomania.ro, and there it's a page which is in English as well, so it's easily to be read in English. And there is a registration page. Yeah, so.
and we're able to access that from the United States, like our web browsers won't block us or anything?
No, for sure not, because I work with people from US, like I supervise some people from US, and they can access this page, no problem. Yeah. So if not, I mean, it's like people can send me an email on simona.herb around yahoo.com. I mean, just if they have encounter any difficulties, you know.
So
Yeah.
you said your email is simona.herb@yahoo.com?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
That's right.
perfect.
Yes.
So, and then do you have a website for your practice?
Yes, I have a website from my practice. I have a center, as I told you, for therapy and personal development. It's called Psiris Center. Yeah, but this is more in Romanian. But on the Facebook as well, they can find my page. You know, it's like Simona Herb EFT, and then
Perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Great. So that's excellent. So guys, if you want to find Simona, if you want to ask her questions, maybe you have a client that you could use her help with, make sure that you send her an email, look up her podcast. Thank you
Mhm.
so much, Simona, for being with us today. It is such an honor to meet you, to be able to speak with you from all the way the other side of the world. This is so exciting, and it sounds like you're doing wonderful things for the community of Romania, for the country.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I am always happy to speak about EFT, and always I am so emotional to speak about this gift that EFT is, as well for countries like Romania that suffer so much and had so much trauma that needs to be healed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure that you check out Simona's websites. I will put them in the description for the video on YouTube. So make sure that you check those out. And as always, stay tuned and keep watching because more episodes are on the way.